This episode is brought to you by the Missoula Arts and Culture Center. Because their Wolf Theater Academy is inviting students kindergarten through 12th grade to explore acting, musical theater, and improv in a professional, inclusive setting. Students can explore 2-week sessions spotlighting popular plays, including Disney's The Little Mermaid, 10 Ways to Survive a Zombie Apocalypse, and Seussical Jr. I wish I could invite you to enroll your kid in their Wizard of Oz Youth Edition, but it is already sold out, so you better act fast. They also offer a technical apprenticeship that lets teens master set building, lighting, sound, and props behind the scenes. Faculty and guest professionals foster creativity, teamwork, and self-confidence in every student. Enroll now at jccdenver.org/camps/WTA and let your star shine on stage. That's jccdenver.org/camps/WTA. And don't worry about that URL. You can find it in the show notes.
Today on CityCast Denver, are we in a crime crisis? The mayor told Congress this week that that's not at all the case, but the entire Republican caucus at the state legislature says they feel unsafe coming to work. So we're talking about the crime narrative, the city's big plans for 16th Street this summer, and all the other big stories of the week, including the intoxicating allure of the suburbs and a restaurant that completely fell apart. Today is Friday, March 7th. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show about the city where every time you zipper merge, an angel gets its Crocs.
Oh, why Crocs?
You two are sad about that?
Crocs are for the devil.
Crocs are for the devil.
I felt like this was a specific to Olivia shout out.
This is a little bit of a shout out to our producer,
with
Olivia.
Zipper merge, but she also loves Crocs.
Oh, okay. Well,
sounds like you two don't.
Olivia's for the devil. No,
Crocs
wait. No, I'm sorry.
Horrible. I hate them, but they're
You
great.
hate Crocs?
They're great for kids. I
They're
will
so
say that.
ugly.
I can wash
Yeah,
them.
I get that.
I can't wear.
I'm
I can't wear
shocked
them.
by
I guess
this.
if I could wear them, I probably would like them, but I can't wear them.
Just make your Chucks nasty. You know what I mean? Don't wear socks with your Chucks. That's
I
where I'm
don't
on.
know what you mean. Me and Crocs Nation are here like
Paul, I've never
flummoxed
seen
by you
in
two.
Crocs. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? Do you even own Crocs?
Yeah.
Prove
yeah,
it.
I got,
What are you
I
wearing
got
right
some
now?
nice Crocs. I'm not wearing Crocs right now.
New Balances, everybody. All right, just like you thought.
I know. It's like typical.
All right, fair enough. I have a nice pair of green Crocs. They're a little worn. I've been thinking about replacing
Are
them.
they your gardening Crocs?
They are my gardening
I knew it.
Crocs, and they have a little Canadian flag gibbets. Gibbet?
No, here's the
Gibbets
thing.
in there?
Birkenstocks, all right, I get Birkenstocks, all right, because they eventually form to like what your foot is, and they're leather, and they're
Also love
high,
Birkenstocks.
high quality. Crocs, they don't like
Crocs are
form
the
to
American version. They're made out of plastic.
Right.
They don't actually conform to your
No.
foot, and they probably give you foot problems.
Exactly.
There are listeners screaming like I am internally right now. Like, you two, you got to get yourself some Crocs.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
Get
the
a
only
pair.
appalling footwear I'm a fan of is Uggs. So
Yeah,
I'm an Uggs
that's
girl.
true.
I'm not an Uggs girl, but I get it. I
All
dated a lot of Uggs girls in high school.
All right, let's move into
an
the
Uggs
show
matron
portion of
at
the
this
show
point,
here.
yeah.
It's the
Uggs
Friday
grandma.
news roundup. We're here at the 5280 Magazine Studios. I'm here with two of my favorite people to talk to.
Prove
Bree,
it.
our
Sure about
host,
that,
Bree
Paul?
Davies. Yeah, I am sure about that. And one of our regular guests. He's a stand-up comedian. He's our man inside Casa Bonita.
That's right.
And he'll be joining Bree on stage to
That's
MC our big Heyday event tomorrow.
What?
Joshua Emerson, welcome back.
I got to move some stuff around real quick.
You're double booked. Great.
Don't do that to me.
No, it'd be fun. I'm excited. We're gonna have a lot of fun, Bree. I think.
I am too. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
going
got
to be really fun.
I got a lot of improv games. They're gonna make you play.
I love it.
Little zip zap zop. You know.
I don't know what any of that means, so I will be ready
Okay, good.
to learn along with the audience.
Yeah, just yes and. That's all.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Before we get to the show here, I have a little update on yesterday's episode where we talked to Senator Julie Gonzalez
Yes.
about the mayor's big congressional hearing. I got a text from the mayor's office this morning.
Oh.
They listened to the episode
Ooh.
where I was talking about how struck I was by the fact that the mayor quoted scripture in his opening remarks, and how I had never heard him say that before. They informed me that he has discussed this before. And they sent me a link to a Fox News interview he did last January, which I'll put a link to in the show notes.
Oh, wow.
But this is apparently not a new thing for him, although I have to say it's not a common thing for him that he talks about his faith in immigration, on the immigration issue.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we were kind of just discussing it in the realm of strategy, right? Like, it's not a bad thing or a good thing, or it doesn't matter. It was just like, this is something that he brought to the table, understanding who his audience was, and maybe this would resonate a little bit more with the approach that he takes to immigration.
Yeah, which, curious that the precedent for this was Fox News, a Fox News interview.
I also
where he might be
find that to be an interesting arena.
Conservative.
That was also what I was thinking.
Do you want him to quote scripture to more liberal outlets?
He could try.
If he's really about it, I guess. Or,
I don't know.
Oh,
I mean, it's politics, baby. Do whatever you want.
That's true.
Try to get those votes.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
We talked about Heyday. Well, you've heard us talking about it a lot. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it right now. The 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. time slots are sold out.
Yay.
Tickets are flying off the shelf right now. There's a few left for the later in the day time slots. It's an indoor fair with a distinctly Denver twist all day Saturday at the Asterisk building. We're going to be having lots of fun. Come down.
Come down. Come hang out with us.
Come down, hang out. HeydayDenver.com is where you get your tickets. Let's get to our top story of the day.
Ooh.
It's a different vibe today, but can I just say that? Can I acknowledge that? Different feeling in the room today for this show?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm on Dayquil, so that
explains part of it.
I am
I'm really
also
not feeling
on
right.
NyQuil, all right? But for different reasons.
All right, that's a little drop. Will Joshua fall asleep before the end of the show?
I have the head cold where like you feel like you're not on this planet, or it messes with your equilibrium.
Yeah, my Lord and Savior is Lil Wayne, you know what I mean? So I think that's where we're coming in.
What, have you seen him live?
Mm-hmm.
It's fun.
Oh, you're just going to call me out like that?
I'm just
Immediately
asking.
Call me out? Like, I've never seen him.
multiple
I've seen Kendrick
times.
Lamar live.
He can be your Lord and Savior and you not have seen him live.
I was just
think
genuinely
that's fine.
asking.
I would have
accusing.
I would have loved, because his heyday was like my end of high school, going into college for the first time before I flunked out.
so
You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a fun time, but I never got to see him live.
My heyday is this Saturday, and it could be yours too, because there's still tickets available. Come on down to the Asterisk building.
Nice one, Paul.
Let's get to our top story. Thank you. Our mayor, Mike Johnston, who I mentioned a second ago, is back from D.C. after Republicans in Congress invited him for a high-stakes interrogation into his approach to immigration on Wednesday. But many Republicans back here at home wish he would have stayed. The entire GOP caucus at the State House sent him a letter calling on him to address the, quote, escalating crime crisis in Denver and urging immediate action. So we're talking about some of our favorite topics here: the mayor, the vibes downtown, the crime narrative, and some of the city's big plans for the summer. But Joshua, I want to start with you. Did you catch any of the mayor's testimony? Did you see any clips on social media or anything?
Yeah, on the old tickety talk. You know what I mean? Yeah. And
what's popping on TikTok?
Just more the sense of the humanity aspect of it. Why he felt like he had a moral obligation to sort of do this, just as a human being to another human being, and how they and then also just like pressing back, like he didn't break any laws or anything to do this, but he's proud of doing this. That's sort of the impression that I got from it, which honestly, in this day and age, and how few Democrats are sort of standing up right now, like the paddles I thought were so ineffectual at Trump's speech address, and so it's nice to sort of we need people to rally on. We need leaders to rally behind, imperfect as they are. Even up in Canada, the Ontario, I don't know what
you're pointing at me for some reason.
Well, because you're part Canadian. That's why.
Okay,
Canadian citizenship.
Yeah.
Continue.
He's not the greatest guy, but he was right in terms of you got to stand up for Ontario, you got to stand up for Canada against these, international terrorists and this international bullying that's happening with this administration. Just because this is really where leadership matters the most, is when your democracy is being challenged, and when and just general humanity is authorities being challenged. This is when you have to be the loudest so that other people who feel the same way feel empowered to also add their voices to the fray. What can happen is a lot of times people who have these feelings and they're feeling these things, they get quiet because they feel like they're isolated. And it's important to find those people to rally behind so that they know that they're not alone.
That was really nice, Josh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, how crazy it is that that's the discourse on TikTok. You know, the warmth and the humanity, and there weren't any of these like big, aggressive, like fireworks moments that seem to be like exploding out of this hearing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of was really happy that happened, because this has been such a polarizing issue in weird ways, where like it's really just about taking care of human beings in a crisis situation. And I think that our mayor approached it very well. I think all the mayors, Adams was a little bit whatever, but I mean, I thought Boston's mayor did amazing. I thought Chicago's mayor did amazing. They're just saying like, we're following the law. Like they kept just like repeating like this is what we're doing. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing, but also we're just trying to take care of people that showed up at our doorstep. Like we just have to take care of these people. And that was really, I don't know, that resonated with me a lot. I'm glad that our mayor did that.
The other thing he emphasized, of course, is that crime rates in Denver are going down, which has been disputed. I mean, you can look at it in different ways. You can look at different categories. But I think generally, from what I've seen, what I've looked at is I agree. Crime rates seem to be going down as he's taking this more welcoming posture, which gets me back to this letter from these GOP elected officials who – so they're basically like, this is the entire caucus at the State House. All of the Republicans, they signed on to this letter to the mayor this week. And they're talking about their experience in Denver, which they have to be here to be doing their legislating.
Sorry, you have to come to Denver. Our apologies that you have to deal with us.
So I thought I might just read some of these quotes
please
from this
do.
letter.
I found this letter so funny.
I thought it was interesting. There's lots of parts in here. Anyway, dear Mayor Johnston, we write to you as the unified voice of the Colorado House Republicans, deeply concerned about the alarming state of safety in our capital city. Denver was once a place where families and businesses thrived. Now it has become a neglected metropolis where violent crime, drug overdoses, and the Joker have made it and lawlessness have made it unsafe for those who work and live here. The Colorado State Capitol sits at the heart of this crisis, and the rising crime in Denver has put our members, staff, and the public at risk. Does that feel like the Denver that you all know, Joshua?
Neglected metropolis is so funny. I want that as a T-shirt. Like it's so out of touch with what the actual situation is in downtown. I think one of the people of Colorado deserve a capital city where they can walk without fear, where citizens going to work are not looking over their shoulders, and where families feel safe to visit. It's one of the loudest wolf whistles I've heard. You know what I mean? Like, what type of people are they looking over their shoulder at? And it's just like it feels like 50s, you know what I mean? Just this like artificial terror that hysteria. Won't you think about families and people, and it's so bad, and it's just not connected to facts, you know. And
I read this and looked around and was like, what Denver are they talking about? I live here every single day. This does not resonate with my experience. I do not understand what this hellhole metropolis, whatever they want to call, I genuinely don't see it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's the case of like not actually knowing the city that well. You know, you see the occasional bad headline, or maybe you have a bad experience. You know, who hasn't been downtown late at night? You're on a street corner that's kind of quiet. You run into someone who's having a bad day. You have a little confrontation, you move on. You know, it can be rattling. You can shake you up. I'm not trying to minimize that, but that's a city, you know, that's not like, it's not a neglected metropolis where violent crime, drug overdoses, and lawlessness.
We have open drug use and overdoses on the steps of government buildings. Hey guys, there's been a solution presented to that. You don't like it. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
One other point, totally unrelated, but as I was reading this, I was thinking, the style of this writing there's something about this. So I ran it through an AI detector, 90% probability AI generated letter.
Yeah.
Just saying, Colorado GOP. You can feel the sentiments all you want, but write
Prompts,
your own letter.
Denver, crime, crisis, drugs.
That's crazy.
Hey, it's politics, baby. Get those votes. We get them with ChatGPT.
This feels like kind of out of nowhere to me. Like it wasn't right after the the 16th Street Mall stabbings. It wasn't. I just was like, what caused this? Because the mayor went to Washington this week to defend the city. Is that the reason?
Well, I think that's exactly it. Yeah, because all the Republicans, DC, which I actually thought they would highlight the crime stuff more during the hearing, like some of these, like the stabbing spree, but they didn't really talk about that. It really was more about like federal immigration law.
Yeah. Were they mad that he went to Washington? Is that why? Like he left the city?
Just the fact that he's going to Washington is an opportunity to sort of attack him. I think.
I think so too. I think he's getting the spotlight. He had that Wall Street Journal article about him this week, and they're like, "Hey, this is there's another way to look at this guy."
Yeah, and I don't think the audience for this is the mayor. I don't think it's addressed to the mayor, but I think it's like Parker. I think it's like citizens
Imagine if
living
he
in these
didn't go.
suburbs. Yeah.
They would have run him through the ringer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there's no winning for.
That's true. Yeah. That's not what they're trying to do.
Let me give you all another quote. Our own members and staff have received death threats simply for fulfilling their duties, as well as being spit on crossing over Colfax Avenue. Most recently, there have been multiple stabbings just blocks from the locations where many of our official events are held and where businesses should be thriving.
Someone put me in a bubble in suburbia and get me out of here right now, because I don't want to have to interact with the general public. It's Colfax. Calm down.
Yeah, the being spit on.
Oh, please.
I mean, maybe they wandered through one of these protests that's happening outside.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Against the policies that they're supporting, perhaps?
I just get so defensive, especially about Colfax. I'm like, you don't understand. It's fine if you don't understand the street, but
sure.
Give me a break.
I'm with you. It reminded me of when we talked to, I
hysteria.
think he might be a former representative, Mike Lynch. I don't know if he's currently at the State House.
Oh, yeah.
But he was running against Boebert last spring.
He was mad about sex workers existing, right?
Exactly. Which, the whole these, women of the night walking up and down Colfax. Like, all right.
What is it, 1974? What are you talking about? And not to say that sex workers don't exist and are there, but I don't think that they are bothering you, first of all. And second of all, I would just love for you to actually show me a sex worker. I don't think you know where they are. Or if you do, they're behind closed doors and that's your own business. But
right.
That felt like such a cheap shot because sex workers are such an easy target for folks.
I remember living
stigmatized.
Living like 17th and Pearl, you know what I mean? Just like right off of Colfax and like walking past sex workers like all the time as like just like a part of like the day, you know what I mean? Like they never bothered me. They were just sort of had their own sort of life living.
As most of us want to do.
Yeah, it's amazing how that works out. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know. This just felt like so out of left field, just so, I mean, the 90% AI thought makes so much sense here.
I think it
just felt like a lot of like very light word salad-y. Like not anything, there was no specific, I mean, sure, okay, you've been spit on or
the stabbings happened.
The stabbings,
that's a
yes,
real
they
thing.
did happen. But like this is, I'm not saying like that's not sad or that we've gotten over that moment, but like this did not come, they didn't publish this the week that happened. It just feels very, what are you guys talking about? Talk about being out of touch.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about the other side of this because there's another bit of news out of downtown this week from the Downtown Denver Partnership. I saw this at first at Denver 7. We should talk about some of the things that the mayor has done with downtown lately. I mean, after the stabbings, he did increase police patrols. So that's one thing. But then this Downtown Denver Partnership news is that they're apparently asking City Council to approve $1.5 million to, quote, activate the 16th Street Mall around their planned reopening party the weekend of May 30th.
Outside festival.
This is exactly the weekend of the second annual Outside Festival. So that I think that's what we're looking at is like they're thinking this is going to be some big like, hey, welcome back to downtown. It's great.
Well, you need businesses, you know what I mean? You need a lot of good, strong businesses along 16th Street, and it's been hard to sort of keep those restaurants in. And the restaurants that stay aren't like local, you know, it's like the Cheesecake Factory, and that's not going to bring me downtown.
It's bringing some people down. I've been spending a lot of time downtown lately because I've been living in
Paul,
one of these Thank you for asking.
What is your thought on this before I go on my rant about the money pit that is the 16th Street Mall? Please go. You've actually been down here.
Yes, I've been spending a lot of time downtown. I love it. It's very fun, especially during the day on nice weather. Oh my God, nothing better. Here's the spot. Last Friday night, I was at Giordano's, the Chicago-style pizza joint. It's like a chain out of Chicago.
Yeah, deep dish.
Where is it?
Deep dish. It's I couldn't tell you the cross streets.
Okay.
It's got a big deep dish.
It's like
pizza
a Arapaho-ish.
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious.
Slammed. slammed. This is in the middle of construction. This place is the busiest restaurant I've seen in months. This low quality pizza joint. I had a great time there.
You didn't
that's
like
where
it?
people are at. No, I mean, it's fine. But that's where people are at. They're at Giordano's. That's where the GOP should show up for their official functions if they want to have a good time.
Maybe they need to move their location to the 16th Street Mall.
Maybe. So what's your rant, Bree? What do you got on the 16th
I mean,
Street?
how much money are we going to give this street? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Colfax is struggling.
We talked about that last week.
Communities all across the city have dealt with issues of gun violence or other things that could use safety and security. I find the hyper focus on this is so clearly DDP driven to me, the Downtown Denver Partnership. It just shows to me that they have so much power in the city because they represent a lot of big business owners and a lot of real estate. And I'm like, how much do you need? Come on, you guys, get it together. There are other parts of the city that need this support too. Mm-hmm. If I was a Colfax business owner, I would be pissed if I saw this, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, we know they've been screaming for more money. They got $2 million
to stay open.
Just to stay open.
Just to stay open.
But it's the same thing for the 16th Street Mall. I mean, I think the argument for the 16th Street Mall is that there's there's the tourism factor, and then there's the out-of-state conventioneers that come into town and boost the economy, and that does help everybody. So there is a little bit extra. And also the Downtown Denver Partnership is funded by the businesses themselves. Yeah, it sounds like they're asking for taxpayer money for folks in other neighborhoods to be shelling out for this, but generally they're funded by their own business community.
I'm just saying, I think the other part where you just mentioned about tourism and stuff, which is great, also to me highlights a problem that Denver often has, which is it does not want to look at itself. It's always looking to other people. Like, what do we want to attract other people, but what about the people that are here? What about the Colfax businesses that serve the neighborhood every day? We need those businesses just as much as we need the tourism, I think.
Yeah, and I think that we're not telling the story about Colfax. Colfax could be a tourism draw.
Oh, absolutely.
Colfax, it's such a missed opportunity.
Part of our city. It's so crazy that we don't capitalize
with the
on
dive
it.
bars and
the music venues.
Yeah,
and there's like some really cool buildings along there. The built environment. I mean, they're working on it right now. To be fair, they're working on the built environment being more friendly for pedestrians, as much as it seems like it's not. But I agree, Paul. I would tell people to go to Colfax. I do actually when people come to town to go see a show over going to the 16th Street Mall for what? You know,
Giordano's, baby.
Yeah, or like Comedy Works, or for like DCPA, or for the ballet. You know, but I don't really feel like haven't really activated that. They're doing it the same weekend as Outside Festival, but like, what about the missed opportunity with like Punk in the Park? You know what I mean? They moved from Sculpture Park over to the National Western.
That is true. I forgot they made that move.
And so it's like you lost this huge opportunity to activate 16th Street with that. You know,
when was that?
So this year, I think it's the first year they're doing it.
They're
National
doing
Western.
it in the
I
Stockyards.
can't say I'm familiar with this.
They just announced the lineup, and they usually did it at Sculpture Park, and it's just like punk bands from the 90s mostly.
40-year-olds and
yeah, 40. It's like people that are my age.
But a lot of them.
But there's a lot. I mean, it's a big draw. It's a big draw, and I would guess it's a lot of folks that maybe don't come downtown that much.
Right.
And now it's at the National Western Stockyards. So
and even things like maybe try to connect with the National Stockyards in terms of like the Denver powwow. You have all these natives coming from out of state. They're going to look for certain places. I feel like they're too hyper focused, like just on Outside Festival, and then try to put everything into this one day, and then it's never going to be good enough, right? And so like if you really want your 16th Street Mall, it's the day to day that has to be special. It has to be like can we get some better? We don't have a good pizza shop. You're talking about Giordano's, but we don't have like in terms of slice shop on 16th Street. We haven't had one since 2018 down there.
Joshua, there was this Roman style place called Sophia's.
Oh God,
I love Sophia's. It's so delicious.
It was open for like 4 months, and it was great. It was great. And
I have never lamented on something that is not old Denver as much as I have about Sophia's.
That was one by like Illegal Pete's over there. It was delicious.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
But even just like something like, you know, like those big, you know, like ovens?
Activate some of these empty spaces with markets, with
that's what they're
temporary
trying to do.
DIY venues.
This is exactly what they're trying to do. The plan, according to Courtney Garrett of the Downtown Denver Partnership, is to use this money to bring, quote, activations or reasons to draw people to downtown. That will mean recruiting and paying local musicians and artists to refresh vacant storefronts and space along the mall, along with setting up larger events and interactive public art displays.
I will believe that when I see it, in part because I have talked to musicians along the 16th Street Mall who have said they have made it harder and harder for them to busk. So if they're really going to do that, great. I love to hear that. I love to hear money in the pockets of artists. Awesome. Let's do it.
Pearl Street is so much easier to busk than it is down on 16th Street Mall.
Totally. And that should be just like an element of the street.
All right. One last bit here, because we've been kind of, the Outside Fest, maybe we've been throwing some shade there a direction. I had a good time there last year. I thought it was fun, and it's going to be bigger this year.
They have a sweet lineup. It's like Krungbin, I think.
Okay, that's how you pronounce it. Can you say that again?
Krungbin?
Krungbin.
I have to say within, like, this is like the musician band. Like, people that are very technical musicians love to watch them play, and they wear like costumes and stuff. I think they're fine. They're like kind of chill, vibey music, but like it's really like musicians that love to watch other people play love this band. It's a perfect vibe for Colorado, frankly.
Yeah, I think the whole lineup
seeing
is
them
good.
outside is going to be awesome.
Sylvanesso, Waxahachie, those are a couple of my faves. Brothers of Brass, local stars.
I like Brothers
Lord
of Brass.
Huron.
I do too.
And then there's a nice stomp clap band here, Tramples by Turtles.
I like Trample by Turtles too. Oh, maybe I'll go.
Hey,
that's a perfect Colorado band.
Unfortunately, here's the thing. They jacked up the ticket prices.
I was going to ask you about this, Paul, because when we were talking about just like the price of things, you had mentioned last year that you went to Outside Fest for like $30.
It was hella cheap. It was $60 for a full weekend, $30 for a day. It was to get people bought in. And a lot of the thing last year, at least, was like, the music was fun, but then like most of the stalls and the events and the shows were like kind of it was like sponsors, know?
Yeah.
It's like sponsors doing their thing, like, hey, buy
it wasn't what you were going for.
That wasn't the draw. They were clearly, the music was what people were going.
Do you think people should do like art in those things, or like what do you want in those?
I don't know what I want. I mean, it was a great space. It was a good vibe. I was there to have fun. I just wish there was more crap to do.
Now it's like $100, right?
$100 for 2 days.
Which isn't that
probably
expensive.
A good deal.
I was going to say that's not a bad deal for all those bands, but it is. I see that you got to sell people on something before you do the full thing.
I don't know if I'm going to be there. You know who is going to be there? He's coming back this year. Shaun White, the Flying Tomato.
Hey,
he's giving another talk. We're going to hear what kind of big ideas Shaun had this year.
Honestly, I'm excited to just hopefully see another festival like grow and continue, because it is something that Denver does really well. I think.
And I am excited about the Civic Center Park. Is that what they call it? I don't know.
Yeah, that's where it is.
Well, because they're changing that Greek amphitheater and stuff like that, and so like over these.
Well, they're talking about it. Have they approved that yet?
Not sure.
Okay.
Well,
I'm
not sure.
I have feelings about it.
We'll put a pin on that.
And also the Ball Arena redevelopment plan is also interesting, and so it's like downtown, like the 16th Street Mall. You want to get it good now so that it just connects all into like what's going down sort of south, and
there's good pieces. There's good pieces kind of coming together. You can see the vision of what it could be
over the next 15 years.
Transitional time.
Well, let's just hope we don't over police it and make it not fun.
Because I'll tell you, where did they watch the NBA finals? Where did they watch the NHL finals? It wasn't on 16th Street Mall, and that's a lost opportunity for them. What sort of connections have they made with MSU? Like making it easier for them just to go from the campus to 16th Street. Yeah, those are the things that they should be thinking about, I think.
Well, we want to know what you're thinking about, listeners. We want to know, what's your spot downtown? What's the place that gets you out? What's your Giordano's pizza?
What's your Cheesecake Factory?
Yeah, what's your Cheesecake Factory?
What's for all my old heads? What's your Sharper image? Anybody missing the Sharper image at the Tabor Center the way I'm missing
Shack. Oh, when radio, I spend
that's not a surprise.
So much money at radio. I mean, look at the work I do. Anyway, call in. Let us know. The Downtown Denver is a toilet bowl hotline is open. 720-500-5418. Again, that's 720-500-5418. We're going to take a break. Come back. Talk about the suburbs.
This episode is brought to you by the Arvada Center. Because their spring musical is opening this month, and it's a good one. Check out A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, opening March 28th. This Tony Award-winning musical comedy is about just how far one poor clerk will go to claim his inheritance. His name is Monty, by the way. Check out A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, running March 28th through May 11th. Paul, I'm going to go see this just based on Monty. Obviously. I didn't name my son Montgomery for no reason. Not after the great theatrical, started in theater, then went on to do Oscar-winning work. Actually, I don't know if he won an Oscar. Montgomery Clift, of course. Tickets are available now at arvatacenter.org. That's arvatacenter.org. That is why you should go see this musical. This episode is brought to you by Clear Creek Makerspace. Ever wanted to laser etch your face onto a piece of toast or 3D print a perfect replica of your precious cat, Mr. Mittens? Or weld together a life-size metal T-Rex for your front yard? Or finally build that beautiful custom kitchen table? No matter what sort of creative project or small business idea you dream up, you can make it at Clear Creek Makerspace. 3D print a miniature of my 1963 yellow Super Beetle. I miss that car. So what's a makerspace? Well, think of it like a gym for your creative muscles. Just 15 minutes from downtown Denver, CCM gives you 24/7 access to tons of high-tech tools that you might not have at home. Think 3D printers, laser cutters, robotics, sewing, crafting, woodworking, welding, and so much more. Memberships max out at just $60 a month, and there are tons of affordable discounts for students, seniors, veterans, and educators. Check out clearcreekmakerspace.com for free public classes, exciting new special events, membership info, fun challenges, and more. That's clearcreekmakerspace.com.
All right, we're back. Our hot topic today, the Denver Post had a very provocative story out this week with a very good question at the core. Our elected officials, including Governor Polis, have been pushing for years for denser, more sustainable development in urban cores like Denver. But what if Coloradans don't want that? What if we actually like the sprawl? What if we like it?
We don't.
Yeah. I think we do.
Why?
I know this is like going to be such an unpopular opinion.
With some people.
Well, I would just say more of an observation growing up here. Up until this story, I had not thought about this other side of it in the way that like I just kind of had been ignoring the fact that tons of my friends grew up in the burbs and maybe lived in the city to go to college and stuff, and then just wanted to go back to the experience that they grew up with, which was like a subdivision, which I'm not knocking. I have tons of friends that Peyton Garcia, I'm thinking about her right now, our newsletter editor, lives in one of these, a development like they talked about in one of these outside of Erie.
Yeah,
or in
more
Erie.
Space, better access to the mountains.
Well, and price. Like, let's be honest here. If you want to have a bigger house, or maybe you have a bigger, like, I have a 600 square foot house, but I want to live in the city. So I'm going to pay as much as somebody who has a 3,000 square foot house, in the outskirts of Arvada or whatever. So I think price was a big part of it. And I would just say, like, I think we've just have been ignoring the fact that this is a lifestyle that a lot of folks actually just like. And it's just the reality. It doesn't mean, they make great points in this story, the climate issues, the resource issues, like water and all these things that we're really looking at, or the amount of driving. I'm not diminishing any of those. I'm just saying the reality is people really still do like this as an option.
I get that, like wanting to live in a bigger, like suburban type environment, but nobody likes traffic. And right now, our infrastructure in terms of our interstates and the way they work around the metro isn't sort of developed like Los Angeles or like Phoenix or like Houston, where like Houston, you want to talk about sprawl, it's all over, but you look at their interstate systems, there's a bunch of circles. And so that you are able to sort of get to places quicker in your car. Like for me, it's like I want, like Old Town Arvada, I think is a great example of how you can take the light rail straight to downtown, go see sports or go see whatever you want to downtown, but then get out into the suburbs. And so I'm happy with sprawl as long as it's around intelligent public transportation design as well.
That seemed to be a big theme of this article, was like the elected officials that want to build transit-oriented development. Like, and the reason why they're doing this is for all the reasons you were talking about, Bree. Like, I think this is the tension that They know that the sprawl is not sustainable economically or for the climate.
Yeah.
And so they want to get people, they want to create a more appealing option. This transit-oriented development, build apartments, build condos, maybe townhomes around public transportation. But it is working contrary to the market forces, which, Joshua, I know you understand, that people actually don't want it so much. And so when people build, and the article makes this point, so much of the building, builders installed around 66,000 housing units within a half mile of RTD transit hubs between 2000 and 2019, but they installed more than 180,000 housing units away from transit because that's what people want.
Yeah, it's a bigger picture of like changing people's habits and changing what they value. I mean, you kind of have to change people's values a little bit, which is a really hard thing to do. And I think sometimes the transit-oriented development that does exist is not a good showcase of what it could be.
It's true.
And people want, like, you don't want a high-rise surrounded by a parking lot next to a light rail station. You mean a high-rise next to a park would be better. And we don't have a lot of that right now.
I think what the article missed out was like the price factor, like those high rises near transit, like the appeal of those, it's not the parks or the open space, it's that they're cheap.
Yeah.
That's the appeal. Fair. That's the point. Like, you want to be able to have an affordable option for people in this market. That's a big part of why this densification is such a priority.
I also just think the mentality is, and I think this is totally reasonable, is like when folks are living downtown, working downtown, and then they want to start a family, they go somewhere else. And it's just not part of at least the Denver mentality to think I could raise a family downtown. People do all the time. Look at New York City. Yeah. It's not impossible, but I think about that's where a lot of my friends have done. Like I said, my best friend grew up in Brighton, came down here for college, ended up moving back to Thornton, and then farther, and then farther, and then farther, because she had a growing family and she has 4 boys. She wasn't going to raise them in an apartment. Which again, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it really is a lot about maybe what you picture you grew up like. Maybe you want to give that to your family too. I don't know.
Let's put some color on this, because there was a really good quote from one of these people. So the reporter talked to someone who has moved to one of these new developments. This one happens to be in North Aurora, just down the road from the Gaylord Resort and Convention Center. I'm pretty sure I waited in line outside this person's development when I was at the Trump rally last fall. Just like nothingness out there. So the quote from this person, Jolynn Crownover, is... The backyards in Painted Prairie are smaller than in classic post-World War II suburbs, but the way it's designed, it draws people outside to the parks and shared spaces, she said. When we first moved out here in 2020, we ended up getting to know our neighbors so much quicker. It felt like the first year of college, where everybody was new and everybody wanted to get to know each other.
That's so interesting.
That's part of being a new subdivision, though, I think.
Really?
Right? There's because I remember I'm from Phoenix, and so we moved into a new subdivision that they were just building up houses while we were moving in, and there's a sense of like we have the opportunity to create the neighborhood right now, and so that type of mentality I don't think that doesn't surprise me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't feel that when I moved into my neighborhood down in Virginia Village. I'll tell you that. There was no like, oh, I so want to get to know you. But it was more like, hey, you're actually technically in the other neighborhood and you're not invited to this potluck.
That's so interesting because I mean, I don't know my neighbors now as well as I did when I was a kid. Yeah. I knew every single neighbor on my block when I was a kid. Also, my family, when my parents moved in, they were the young people. Everybody else on the block had been there for like 30 years already. So a lot of my neighbors were elderly growing up. I mean, there was kids all over, but I don't have the same relationship on my block now as I did growing up. And I wonder if that's just like a societal social shift.
That's an interesting point about like the timing of when, and your age groups, your cohorts, like natural, like friends, people you have something in common with. Cause I feel like I missed the moment with my neighborhood. Like I think there's people that are like 20 years older than me and have kids that are like 10 years old. And that's just not me and my wife right now.
But you can get involved. They have neighborhood organizations. You could be more active on it.
It's just not as natural to like, I don't know. It's an interesting, because the thing was when my parents, we ended up in a neighborhood like 5 blocks from where my mom grew up. And she was like, I didn't intend to do that. She said, we looked at Highlands Ranch when they were first developing it. And she had the opposite reaction to you, Paul. She didn't want to be in a neighborhood with people all her age. She wanted to be in a neighborhood with people of different ages. So that was like an unappealing thing to her. And then the driving, of course, was like not?
My neighborhood is mostly homeowners. I'm the only one that smokes weed while he walks his dog.
Do you get stares?
I sometimes, but there's also kids in my neighborhood too. Like we have like a middle school, so I have to I avoid those areas when I'm walking my dog. But there's also there's every generation in my neighborhood, which I like, which I enjoy. I have some pushback.
You're on the north side, right?
North side, baby.
Okay,
Yeah, just next to Sunnyside.
But your pushback.
Yeah, my pushback. I have a quote. Yeah, you're taking beautiful cities like Denver, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and making them into East Germany. What a drama queen! All right,
I was pulling this exact quote too.
Yeah,
progressives and the Greens are fighting a losing battle against human aspiration. They've got to find a way to work with human aspiration, not against it. And I was like, this is where it gets too polarizing, and then we can't have the conversation anymore.
Yeah.
Also, parks like Cheeseman and Wash Park and City Park, these are all high density areas around them, and they're a great example of how you can sort of utilize these shared green spaces and make them better with density. You're not going to have jazz in the park without a demand for it, and that's a great concert series that we do every summer. And so, and that adds to
but I think that's a good part of it is I drive to Wash Park. I'd love to have a Wash Park closer in my neighborhood. It was something that size. We just don't have it.
I mean, there's clearly demand for it. That thing is it's slammed. Jazz in the park.
Yeah.
We want more of that. This reminds me of the noise ordinance we just changed to make it easier for these sorts of festivals to exist. So I don't know. I mean, I think people are working on this kind of thing, investing in the communities we have, trying to improve the places we have. I think everybody wants that.
I just think this was a good conversation piece to talk about the reality of what some folks want, which we just kind of leave out when we have these urban planner conversations. We don't have the real conversation about, well, those subdivisions wouldn't exist if people didn't want them.
It's true.
Yeah, I think this is something that the YIMBYs maybe, the YIMBYs think that they're all economically rational and that's the argument, but it relies on this fundamental assumption that people are going to move towards the cheaper prices if they don't want the other thing, if they don't want the sprawl. And I think recognizing that a lot of people want that is really important because it's actually moving against the market forces to try to get people to change their behavior.
Well, you gotta. What's the time that you're looking over? You know what I mean? Sometimes if it's too short term, then it might not be rational. But you increase that time, that's when you'll see those decisions come to fruit. And so you also want to be making the decisions for the long term as well. And so.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting stuff. I mean, connected to the downtown conversation too, especially. The whole thing is this is why this job is fun, honestly. I hope people enjoy it as much as I do. The city is a living organism. Everything is connected, Giordano's is popular. Arvada has great.
Paul is pissed about that.
I don't think it is. We have a comedy show with
Old Town
Giordano's.
Arvada is perfect. We need Old Town Littleton's cool too, but it sounds like Old Town Arvada has a really great light rail station, which makes it a little bit more accessible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the one? Okay. Which suburb? Here's the last question. Which suburb has the biggest draw for each of you?
Oh, that's something I didn't bring up. The reason I love the suburbs, their rec centers are way more awesome than ours. I'll go out of town to go to a really good rec center. So that's all I'm saying.
I mean, all right.
I'd go to Brighton because that's where my heart is.
That's a mom pick right there.
It really is. They have the lazy rivers and stuff.
Madison's got a lazy river.
Yeah, you can Madison. It's so crazy busy though. It's less busier at the other ones.
Okay, all right.
I'll go to Lafayette.
Do either of you have a suburb that you go to that you would most like?
I'm Denver, baby. Don't even talk to me about
Paul,
a suburb.
At one point, your neighborhood was a suburb, and that's where I would go because that's where I grew up. But I can't afford it anymore. And I love your neighborhood.
Can't be me, man. I live right on the border of Lakewood, Edgewater, all that.
Edgewater's cute.
I live in Denver, dog.
Also, I'm with you. Lakewood has some good rural feeling too. Horses.
That's
stuff.
right. Throw up the 303. I don't know why I'm faking that.
You're doing a great job.
You're nailing it.
You're doing a great job.
All right, we're going to another break. We'll come back with wins and fails of the week. Hey, Bree.
Paul.
We're here talking about Hay Day.
Do you want me to do this or not?
I heard you had a story about the Adams County Fair.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1990. I'm wearing spandex neon biker shorts. I'm 10 years old. they had this contest, and if they called your number, you got to get in this box, this clear plexiglass box with a fan underneath it, and for a minute straight, it blew money at you, and you had to grab as much money as you could in the 1 minute, and then you got to keep everything you grabbed. I grabbed $27 whole, and as a 10-year-old, that was like the most money I had ever had in my own, like that was my own money.
Wow. And that's the kind of magic that's going to happen at Heyday. Get your tickets now. It's an indoor fair with twists on all your favorite carnival classics, Denver style. March 8th. HeydayDenver.com.
Maybe I'll find some biker shorts and recreate my outfit.
Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
All right, and we're back. It's time for Rocky Mountain Highs and Lows, aka our wins and fails of the week. Each of us brought a recent local something that we think is a win and another we think is a fail, and we're going to talk about them. And oh my gosh, do I have some good ones this week. I bet some of us have the same fail. Honestly, there was a huge fail this week.
Why don't you start
I think
then?
we have the same fail.
You think?
Yeah.
All right,
I'll go. AJ's Pit Barbecue.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about it.
This was crazy.
We saw this on it started last Friday. There was an anonymous post on the Denver food subreddit from some folks who it was not clear if they were employees of AJ's Pit Barbecue or if they knew some employees. But this place is it's a Bib Gourmand winner from 2023. It's at 2180 South Delaware Street, or it was. It has since closed. But this anonymous Reddit post said, the last few months, he, the owner, Jared Leonard, has been hiding in Mexico and has not returned to the U.S. Amanda, his wife, has now joined him in Mexico as they are being sued for selling their house for cash when there was a lien on it.
Jeez.
They're also being sued by their last landlord they rented from for damages and unpaid rent. Both of them are currently blocking employees' phone numbers, asking them for their tax info and final checks.
Smart.
The Leonards are nothing more than fake Christian grifters. The staff walked out last Friday after receiving letters from the IRS informing them that the taxes they thought they had paid were not actually paid and that they owed thousands of dollars. This has been reported now quite a bit.
Yes.
What grabbed you about this, Joshua?
Well, one, it is in my neighborhood. Had it been a couple times, and because of the Big Gourmand, it was all right. I mean, it's like barbecue's better in Kansas City, and I think we all know that. But it was good. I would go to it, and I had no idea the terms of just how shocking what the staff had to go through. That's crazy to me.
It's horrible.
And again, this is like folks that are probably you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're putting your trust in a local business to do that. That's it's just basic. I don't know. I really felt for people. Although I did enjoy, I think in the Reddit thread, someone was like, "You still got the keys? Let's go in there and take all the food." And everybody was like, "We already did that." And I was like, "Good for you. Good for you." These people are nowhere to be found. And they were saying they were getting paid on Venmo and Zelle. I was like,
that's
y'all,
not great.
Unless you're in the alternative
one.
economy, you're on the same page about this. That doesn't seem legit.
Yeah, it's shady as hell. So the Denver Post did catch up with the owner, this Leonard fellow, and apparently he called the allegations, which were shared anonymously on Reddit, quote, fake internet memes and fake internet stories.
Oh, sir.
And he says that everyone has been paid every dollar they're owed. So that's his perspective from Mexico.
I know. I was like, from his hiding place where he has fled.
It's like, come back and talk it out, man. Let's just settle it then. If it's all ship shape, let's just talk it out.
Well, I hope all those folks that didn't get paid find other jobs and are not in a precarious situation.
I hope the person that bought a house cash with a lien on it, I guess that's why you don't buy a house cash.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you do your due diligence when you're doing that much. That large of a transaction. That is crazy, though.
I want to make one more point on this, which is just pointing out the fact that this story broke broke amid this massive debate we're happening in the restaurant industry
I
over the
thought that
tipped
was-
minimum wage,
Yeah.
which we've been covering like crazy. And I think that this story has exposed that even if the bill to lower the tip minimum wage does not pass, which it kind of looks like it's not going to pass based on the fact that the vote was delayed last Monday, I think there might be time to do something. Take a deeper look at what's happening, because there's these restaurants. It seems like they all have their own way of doing business, and none of them are doing great right now. That's something that's come through to me, and I don't know if that's the answer was lowering tip minimum wage. Some people think it is, but maybe it's time for a change.
Yeah. I mean, but just like not paying your employees is not a good start.
No, what this guy was doing, that ain't it.
No.
That ain't it.
No.
Yeah.
Oof.
We're seeing a lot of ideas, all right? No bad ideas. I thought that's what we're
Not paying people. That's something you could save money on.
We're going back into anarchy anyways, and then there are no rules, right? That's
All right. Well, that was a big fail of the week. Bree, how about you? What was yours?
Oh man. Well, my friend Tyler Campo passed away last week, and man, he was such a beautiful person. I knew him from the music scene. We were in bands at the same time in the early 2000s, and I actually found out his band Cowboy Curse, that my band The Hot House played with and shared a practice space with, was getting back together. And I heard from Jason Heller that they were actually making new music, which makes me even more sad. But he passed away last week of, they're not quite sure I don't know what happened, but it at any rate, all of these tributes started pouring out. And if you ever went to a show at Levitt, or you ever went to a show at Mission Ballroom or the Bluebird, Tyler might have been your bartender. He was he was the bartender's bartender. He was everywhere, always smiling, always happy, so nice, so supportive. But in these stories that I was reading from other people, he was also really welcoming to folks that were coming into Denver from other places that were like looking for the music scene. So like I saw someone say like, I moved here from Fort Collins, and Tyler was like, hey, come meet my band, and like, or come to this show with me and you can meet some other folks in the scene. Like, he was really good at inviting people in, and he just was such a special person. But one of those people that kind of goes unnoticed because he doesn't do anything like, he wasn't about making things about him. He was really about the community. And it was just nice to see. I wish we could have told him these things in real life, before he passed away. But he was just such a lovely person. There's going to be a memorial for him if he was your friend, even peripherally. Maybe he was your bartender. March 23rd at the Bluebird Theater from 2 to 8. There's a memorial for him. Anybody can come down. Just a lovely person we lost too soon. Great musician, great friend of the music scene, and just a huge lover of live music. So I love you, Tyler. I'm sorry.
R.I.P. Tyler Campo. Sounds like a person who really made Denver a great place to be for a lot of other
wonderful
folks.
Person, yeah.
All right, let's move on to wins. I've got a great one, but I want to hear from you two first.
Okay.
Joshua, you want to go?
I've been disassociating a lot this past couple months. So my big win is Colorado Avalanche are 7-3 in their last 10. Brought in some defenders to shore up that back line. Blackwood has been an absolute revelation.
2 new goalies, Wedgwood and Blackwood, which is interesting. 2 goalies with wood in their name.
That's right. The lumberyard, baby. That's right. I will say
branding.
Blackwood's nickname is Blackie, and hearing a Caucasian man go, "Let's go Blackie," does sound like an Australian slur.
Hockey culture. I don't love
that.
But weird.
But I mean, if we can get that power play offense figured out, I feel like we have a real shot in the playoffs with the way Blackwood has been playing. Yeah. So
I'm kind of getting the itch to start paying attention again. I watched the Four Nations Cup, that like made up international tournament. They
so
did.
Fun.
It was great, and McKinnon was a star, and then. I like I've said on the podcast many times, pretty much every year around this time, I don't watch the games until the playoffs, out of respect to my wife. But I'm gearing up for it and I'm ready. Here's my plea to the management of the Avalanche.
Oh, wow.
Please trade for Sidney Crosby.
Why? Oh,
Nathan McKinnon's best friend. They both grew up in Nova Scotia. Mentor. They've been. It's rumored for years that they want to play together. Crosby's a little past his prime, but he is the piece. He is the missing piece.
I don't think Crosby is ever going to leave the Penguins. I think that it's one team and done, and so.
Well, we'll see.
He just resigned. I mean, for that meme of a number, his jersey number.
Million.
Yeah. Which is what a weird way to sort of live your life, that you're like, I'm so good, I'm just going to do the meme of my jersey number as my salary amount.
He's going to be kicking himself when he's 50 for that. giving up all that.
Oh, yeah. Crosby's really hurting for money.
He might be. You never know with these people.
With the way the Great One has just sort of gone off the MAGA deep end, like this is Gretzky.
Wayne Gretzky, Canadian icon, is now a huge Trump guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's weird.
And not only that, but when they did the Four Nations face-off, he was the honorary captain for Canada, but didn't give him any speech. He came out on the American side. He fist bumped all the Americans as they were coming out and didn't do anything for the Canadians. So
what a
he's not
weird identity switch.
And so there's something about like Crosby might be taking over that taking over that mantle as like Canadians' favorite
Captain Canada.
There's clearly a space for it.
Yeah. Well, bring him to Colorado. I'll buy a jersey. I would love to root for him in an Avs jersey.
Yeah. Avalanche, bring Crosby to Colorado. What a bold take. All right, cool.
Bree, you want to give us your win?
Yeah, I think mine goes to the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure this week.
Oh.
I reached out to learn more, but I was driving along Knox Court in Barnum on my side of town, and I lived on that street for 8 years, and it was so dangerous. People drove so fast. My car got totaled. My roommate got hit. All 4 of my roommates' mirrors got ripped off. It was just like a crazy thoroughfare. And they've started, a couple years ago, they put in bike lanes and they started putting in all of these like sort of just like making it safer for pedestrians. But I noticed what I think they're doing is putting in speed humps, those like sort of, they're not bumps, but they're like flatter just to slow folks down. And it looks to me like that's what they've started to do along Knox. And I was so happy and so excited because it'll just slow the traffic down. That street is really like, there could be a lot more pedestrian traffic. There's a park nearby. There's a 7-Eleven. There's a burnt down grocery store. But there's like, there's a whole, it's one of those commercial nodes left over from the trolley situation. So there's shops and stuff, but you can't really walk around there because people drive too fast. So I think they're doing some great improvements over there. I was really excited to see that.
That's great.
That's nice.
I know. I was like, oh.
Positive story for Dottie.
I know. I thought so too. I was like, cool. Keep doing whatever you're doing over here. Thanks, Dottie.
Yeah. Shout out to that traffic engineer that thought it up.
That finally was like, you know what?
Yeah.
Enough people have died over here. I guess it's time. Well, they put up one of those speed like it shows you your speed, and people actually started slowing down. So
yeah, I take those as a challenge.
I know. I was like, I feel like people ignore those,
the
but
lights to flash.
How dare you not give me a third digit?
God.
All right, my win.
Paul, yeah. What about you?
My win's kind of there's a big win here, and then there's like a smaller win that's just for one person. So I talked probably a few weeks ago now about how I thought one of the bills at the State House that had a really good chance of passing, I said it was a PK lock this year, was this junk fees bill from Representative Emily Sirota. I thought this was one of the housing measures that was really likely to pass. And on Tuesday, it sailed through the House on a party line vote of 41-21, which means she got all the progressive Democrats and all the moderate Democrats. And that's a really good sign, I think, going on to the Senate and going on to Governor Polis. So this is a bill that, according to the Denver Post, would broadly require retailers and companies to detail the full price of a good or service in their advertising.
Oh.
Now, mostly that's about housing because, junk fees, apartments,
transparency,
huge problem for a lot of renters. You sign a lease and then you're like, I'm
what is all this
for,
extra?
Swimming pool cleaning?
Yeah.
Maybe put some water in there first. But here's the real win for Representative Sirota is that, no one else noticed this. This has not been reported, but I noticed this because I've been obsessed with this restaurant thing. Initially, she included restaurants in this bill. So that would mean that if a restaurant was to charge a service fee, it would have had to be fully included in the cost on the menu.
Oh.
Think about how disruptive that would have been.
Like in the pricing of
it would have been that 20% increase on these menu prices.
Oh.
Which is how they do it in Europe, and a lot of people seem happy with that.
Sure.
So, maybe it's actually a good idea. But
it's all the psychology of sales, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, so my win goes to Emily Sirota, the Denver representative, for getting this junk fees bill through the House, but then also for staying out of this restaurant fight. She doesn't need this heat right now. So that's my win for her.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's actual politics. You know what I mean? Like understanding, seeing the lay of the landscape, see what good can I do without,
minimizing the harm.
Yeah.
On the other side.
It would still affect restaurants, but what happened was she the Colorado Restaurant Association, I talked to them this week about this too, that she had some conversations with them about how this would work. And I guess after talking to them, she decided to add an amendment that it would change how the service fees, how it would compel restaurants to do service fees. So it would still let them do it, but it wouldn't force them to put the higher menu price on. It would just be transparency. It would say your menu has to say, this will include a 20% add-on on the bill.
Yeah, because sometimes it is just at the bottom and you're not kind of sure, at the bottom of your bill, and you're not kind of sure what it is or what it's for. But,
Yeah.
well, we're going to be continuing to watch that fight
I
for
know,
sure.
right? It's like, how is that going to resolve itself? Are the Democrats going to fall away on that tip minimum wage thing? I don't know.
We'll see.
Whole interesting situation. Anyway, that's the end of the show. Joshua, I did want to just give you one more moment here for a shout out to you. You had your own win this week.
I did. Yeah, I got selected. Me and my friend Elliot Weber got selected by the Gilded Balloon to be part of the curated shows at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. So we're doing all 26 days in Scotland with a show called Dead Man Talking. I got a dead mom. He's got a dead dad. So we'll do a little stand-up. But then we're going to do these improvised eulogies from crowd submissions. So we'll be sending out stuff so that people can sort of come and share some of their best funny stories about people that they love that they're lost. I mean, a person dies twice, like when their heart stops beating and when people forget about them. And then like comedy and grief, like they're always interconnected since the beginning of time. And so like I'm so excited. We're gonna
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
It's a huge
huge.
opportunity. I mean, that's a big festival.
Edinburgh's,
That's a big
Fringe
platform.
is massive.
I appreciate it, guys. It's if I'm very excited.
Can you do your Colorado native voice that you were doing earlier when you get there? Just represent us.
Absolutely. Hey, y'all, dog. You're all sad with your dead parents and stuff. Come on. And no, I might do it.
All right. Well, come see us tomorrow at Heyday. Poke Joshua, make him do his voice for you.
We are fundraising, all right? At my Instagram, I got a link up. Please, I need money.
Oh, for the Edinburgh trip.
For the
Fantastic.
Edinburgh trip.
We'll put a link in the show notes.
We will put a link in for that. Come see us at Heyday. Get your tickets at heydaydenver.com. Wow, what a fun show. Bree, Joshua, thanks for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were Olivia Jewel Love, Francisco Kilgore, and me, Paul Caroli. Peyton Garcia writes our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Bree Davies is our host. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver, and tell Avalanche General Manager Chris McFarland to trade for Sidney Crosby. I will buy a jersey. If you love the show, come see us in person at Heyday, an indoor fair with a distinctly Denver twist, tomorrow, Saturday, March 8th. Get your tickets now at heydaydenver.com before they sell out. They are currently selling out. You can sign up for our daily newsletter and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week. Today is Friday, March 7th. Is that actually the line?